Also, let's talk about macros and the markets. We have a very interesting macroeconomic environment as we speak. Then we have the markets all trying to find their way. Very interesting development we've seen in recent weeks and months. The government at the center, the executive branch, talking more and warming up a little bit more to the securities market and the entire financial markets than ever before. So let's ask Johnson Chukwu, who's the CEO at Carry Asset Management, a chartered stockbroker and investment banker, a few questions around the macro environment and what does it mean for the financial markets. Johnson, good morning. Good to see you this Wednesday.
Good morning, Boston.
So great to have you. So I'm sure you look at the fiscal or the macro environment recently. If in terms of what you hear, what you see across in the news, in the dailies, on television, and on radio, what's your take as we wrap up the year?
Well, I think we are seeing a lot more activity in particularly the monetary policy environment, and we are beginning to see situations where some of those policies are impacting on the environment. Take, for instance, the issue of restriction of purchase of POMO to only foreign portfolio investors and banks. We've seen some trending down in interest rates. We've seen investment flowing back to the equities market. You saw a market improvement of about 0.4% on Friday, and that's 0.5% yesterday. We've seen the year-to-date loss drop to 15.8% in terms of market capitalization. Then on the fiscal side, we've also seen a situation where the closure of the land borders are beginning to impact on the inflation rate. The increase we saw in October of 10.24% was partially driven by that border closure. We're going to see more of that in subsequent months. We've seen the price of staples like rice going up. We are also going to see that reflect in a lot of consumer goods. So in effect, the level of activeness of policy drivers are beginning to show on some of the macroeconomic variables.
Okay, what stands out for you? We're done with the elections, then we talk about the cabinet and all of that. Then we move on to the rest of the year, as it were, from Q3. So if you look at Mr. President's moving around a number of major investment summits in Asia and elsewhere, in Russia and all that, trying to secure a much more critically important FDIs and partnerships and what have you. Are you encouraged by some of these moves that you think the fiscal authorities need to do to help the monetary policy, which has been overwhelmed?
Well, what I would say is that hopefully now the budget is likely to be passed before the end of this month or early next month. We're going to see a high level of activity at the fiscal end of the economic management spectrum. The movements, the thoughts of the president, particularly visits to investment centers or other countries having bilateral relationship discussions with world leaders, will bear more fruit once we get our environment right. One of the things we've done right in the last couple of months is the improvement of ease of doing business, the 15 places jump that we recorded in our ease of doing business. What matters to foreign portfolio investors and direct investors, most important direct investors, is the economic environment where they're going to invest in. They are looking at the security environment, they're going to look at the yield environment, they look at the legal framework that govern investment and property rights in those countries. They are also going to look at the sectorial opportunities, which sectors are presenting great opportunities in that economy, and which sectors are the local the government. I mean, the federal government or the government of that local supporting or encouraging. So these are some of the major factors that they look at. Infrastructure deficit. These are the hard lifting we need to do. I'm hoping that by the time the budget is passed, we will see a higher level of activity in infrastructure, particularly as it relates to transport infrastructure and energy infrastructure. Those are two critical infrastructure deficits that are actually hobbling our economic progress. But the basic thing is at this stage is that the thought the president is embarking on have their positive in terms of bonusing the image of the country. But most importantly, we must look at the domestic environment. What matters in the domestic environment? Do you have an environment that's attractive to direct investors, local and foreign investors? That's what we should focus more on. We should further drive our use of business improvement. We should drive our global competitiveness index so that we actually improve on these two parameters, and then we should see a lot more investment coming to the country.
Yeah, well said, Johnson. But again, if you look at the macro space, there are few issues that are out there causing some disquiet, as it were. The government will need more revenue. So folks are being taxed left, right, and center at the federal level. States are there. We have the minimum wage. We have the land border closure and all of that. Where do you think, do you have any idea where President Buhari is going with all of this that is ratcheting up in his second term?
Well, I think clearly there's a lot of focus on taxation. I was looking at one of the facts, was it yesterday or today, where he said the non-oil revenue of the government in the third quarter was about 1.36 trillion naira, and about 44% increase over the figure that was reported in the third quarter of last year, and actually higher than the budget for the quarter, 1.34 trillion naira. It's actually also higher than the revenue from oil of 1.34 trillion as well. So what that means is that the impact, or we're beginning to feel the impact positively of the emphasis on taxation. But we also have to be ready to deal with the unintended negative consequences. One of which is that if you tax companies so much, they tend to begin to reverse their formalization and prefer to be more of informal organizations. And again, if your tax regime becomes punitive, businesses will either go to other neighboring countries to set up. We have to learn a few lessons from what some countries have done. Our neighboring country, Ghana, has actually said it's going to waive taxes on raw materials, spare parts, and a couple of things, so as to attract investment in Ghana. We know the case of United Arab Emirates, where they waive taxes on all trades, all commercial trade, for more than 10, 15 years, until they became a natural destination for people who are for merchants. And then they have imposed those taxes, and they are now taxing a larger base than taxing a small base. So we must balance this. We must ask ourselves, do we have the tax base that we should we really extract so much from the limited tax rate, or the effort should be on how to expand the tax net and also expand the tax rate? If we grow the economy beyond the about $392 billion where we are today, back to about the 510 we had about a couple of years back, then even if your tax rate is 10%, you're going to get more than if you try to impose a 12 or 15% tax on a smaller base. So the emphasis I've always said is that the government should focus on
the
how
idea,
we expand.
Yes. So the idea is to grow the economy, then you put in tax, then you get more money. Then a shrinking economy,
Absolutely.
you try to tax it, then it keeps shrinking. That's the whole idea. Now, look at this. Look at this, and that's really out there and clear. You can't reap what you don't sow. That's just it. So, but you reap what you sow. By the way, the new deep offshore document that was brought from the shelves and dusted up and signed on by Mr. President. Do you see that as a very big win for the country? How did we sit on this document of product sharing revenue for so many years that we're just bringing it out to the front now, that we've lost about $60 billion by some estimates over the years? How quick do you think we should get this money in from the IOCs?
Well, I don't think we're able to tax them to recover what was not paid previously, because that extant law was not in existence at that time. But I'm happy that we've also gone to amend that law and that bill, and it has been signed into law by the president. The basic thing has happened, and if you look at the fiscal framework that governs the deep upstream oil and gas exploration, you realize that Nigeria was getting virtually nothing from deep offshore exploration, because the concept was that the oil majors will have to do that investment, and they have to recover the entire investment before any revenue comes to the government. But I'm happy we have amended that. Initially, what we're doing is that we're actually handing over virtually all the income or the revenue from the deep offshore to the oil majors that were exploring them. If you look at what has happened at the time, some maybe 10, 20 years ago, the cost of exploring oil in the deep sea, offshore was quite exorbitant. But technology has actually improved a lot. That cost has drastically reduced. And if we didn't amend the law, then we will be living on a moribund regulation that actually was working against our fiscal revenue generation.
Now, let's talk about the markets, Johnson. We've seen the executive branch speaking more to the capital market, to the securities market in recent days and weeks and months, or at least since the President Buhari's second term. We've seen the vice president attend a few securities market events, and he's sometimes delegated one or two individuals, including the head of the SEC, to represent him, the vice president, to speak at FMDQ, Capital Market Conference, and a few other spaces. And then you've seen two state governors at the stock exchange within a space of 90 days between August and between September and November. So do you think the executive branch, the government, and the state governments have their back against the wall? Do you think they are now warming up to your market street and see it as that critical partner that has been so long neglected?
Well, the way I would look at it is that there has been a shift in the government orientation. The first time of the government, a lot of emphasis was focused on big government, that the government should drive economic activities, that the government should be the driver of economic activities. We are seeing a shift. Obviously, the government has realized that that is not tenable in today's world. And there's clearly a reorientation of the president's thoughts if the pronouncements or his actions are anything to go by. We see the president panel, a body of economic advisors that are largely free market thinkers to advise him on economic policies of the government. That did not happen the first time. And I'm also sure that the president has also recognized the importance of the capital market as a source of capital accumulation, as a lot of funding of not just the government, but also the infrastructure and business operators. That if we really have to grow this economy, we must support that capital formation arm which capital market represents. So I think there's been a shift, and the government is showing that by supporting activities in the capital market, and even the Monetary Policy Authority are also driving, coming up with policies that are encouraging investment in the equities or available income assets against the previous policies that actually encourage or incentivize investment in fixed income instruments. Remember, both that 3 years down the line ago, we were having yield on treasury bills at about 18.9%. And when you consider that this is a discount instrument, we're getting yield of close to 22% on treasury bills, which made productive activities unattractive. It then made sense at that point that people would rather put their money in such fixed income instruments instead of going to fold their sleeves and try to invest in these sectors of the economy. We have seen a drastic shift in that policy orientation.
Okay, it looks like that's something, a nice policy shift. Thank you so much. Speaking to us on macro in the markets, Johnson Choko, the CEO at Carrier Asset Management, an investment banker and a chartered stockbroker. Thank you so much. Have a great day and see you next time here on the show.